This week on Unapologetic Uplift.
I don't do normal well.
The intuition lies within.
I'm just going to go ahead and say it out loud. I'm going to run the risk of being wrong.
I give the best intuitive advice. Your life is about ready to blow up, torn apart. People think that I'm a bad mom. Go against the grain. Don't care what other people think.
The feeling in my body, I like uncontrollably.
Get ready to rise above the noise and unlock your true potential. Welcome to Unapologetic Uplift, the podcast that's all about keeping it real and helping you live your best life. Buckle up. Get ready to learn, grow, and evolve with us on Unapologetic Uplift. New episodes released weekly.
Welcome to Unapologetic Uplift. I am your host, Kim Staples, joined by my beautiful co-host, Ianthe Mauro, and our incredible guest, Julia. Last name, Julia?
Turner Chi.
Turner Chi. How do I not know your last name? Anyways, this is Julia. Welcome. We're so happy to have you. I'm going to hand it over to Ianthe and we can do a little intention setting.
To set an intention on a candle for this episode, I'm setting an intention that everyone listening to this episode will hear exactly what is meant for them.
And so it is.
And so it is.
So, Julia, we always start off with our guests by giving them the opportunity to introduce themselves. And we love to know what you feel the world needs to know about Julia.
I think that's really interesting because I've been self-evaluating this a little bit more recently, because before I would always start off with saying, I am a mother of 4 daughters. And I feel like Spirit has been telling me that I need my completely separate identity. And so I will say, I am a very spiritual woman. I've had intuitive gifts my whole life and have always felt like I needed to keep them to myself. So who am I? I am a very spiritual, intuitive woman who is irreverent and goofy and loves people. So that's who I am.
I love that so much. And I love that you pointed out having a separate identity from being a mother, because while that is such a massive part of who we are, it is not who we are.
Mm-hmm.
And also, you mentioned wanting to keep your spiritual, or feeling like you needed to keep your spiritual gifts to yourself. And I think we all deeply resonate with that. We're all spiritually gifted, and it has been something I know for myself that has been difficult to openly share publicly. And it's something that I am trying to do more and more of, but it can be scary. And a lot of people don't know how to receive that, might think that we're strange or weird. And that is something that I've had to work through. But at the end of the day, I like to be different when I really sit and reflect on that. But thank you for sharing that.
I want to acknowledge you too, Julia, that first of all, it's a beautiful thing. I got this whole body feeling when you said mother of 4 daughters, and now you feel called to say somehow that to introduce yourself not in that way first. Not that it takes anything away, like what Kim said, but it's beautiful to hear that you're a mother of 4 daughters. And it's beautiful to know that you're owning who you are as a person, as a woman. I'm really curious too, because I wrote down the word hiding. You used the word hiding. You said you've been hiding your intuitive gifts. I'd love to know if there's a time when you can tell us about why you would hide it, how you knew that you had these intuitive gifts, and why you felt it necessary to hide it.
Well, I will say I grew up in a very strict Christian home, very loving. I don't feel necessarily damaged by the church. I've heard some people talk about feeling damaged from the church. I don't. And it's not for me. It's not even that Christianity is wrong. It's just a piece is how I see it. And it's just one piece of the puzzle. and we all have a bunch of puzzle pieces. And I feel like for myself growing up in that environment, it was like my parents, my dad didn't even call me for my birthday or when I wish them happy Thanksgiving because they think what I do is like bad. So for a long time, I hid and I kept everything on the down low because of I didn't want to be like rejected by my family. And even when I was younger, I remember having episodes of like when I started hearing spirit voices and I was afraid and it was in the middle of the night and my mom and dad called my pastor and he came over like in the middle of the night. And so everything seemed scary to me when I was younger because it was like, oh, it was I think anybody who grew up in a very strict Christian household can understand this. It's like your gifts are of the devil and I hid things because, and I think I even hid things from myself for a long time and just tried playing my role as this, just tried to be normal, but I don't do normal well.
What was I thank you so much for sharing that. And it is something that I think a lot of us can relate to. I'm sure people listening can relate to being worried about what their family is going to think about choices they're making that are so different from the way they were brought up. As a mother, since you mentioned you're a mother, how do you pass on to your girls the idea that what if they have a completely different idea about how they want to live life? Like, how are you setting up for them to not have to deal with those same constraints?
I literally just tell them that, you know what I mean? This is how I do things. And I have a very open, like you do, you know what I'm saying? Like, however you connect. My youngest daughter thinks this is all just hokey. She's just, can you just be normal? Can you please? And, but yeah, I just am very open with them about the fact that they can believe whatever they want to believe. And I never try to put my spiritual ideas on them. I just try to live as an example. And if they like it, they can take it. And if they don't, it's all good.
I love that. And I did not grow up religious whatsoever. So I do hear a lot about how different faiths will say like practicing spirituality in a different way, being psychic, using tarot cards are evil and not accepted. But I really don't know too much about that. So is that the case in Christianity?
Oh, yes. Oh, for sure. I, at one point, got rid of all my tarot cards because I have a severed relationship with my oldest daughter, and I'm very public about it. It's something that hurts my heart. And my mom told me that was because I did tarot cards and that I had introduced evil into my life. And in desperation, I was like, okay, I just put it aside and got rid of them and tried not doing it for, this was probably like 4 or 5 years ago. And it just, it's not, it just kept calling back to me. And even with tarot cards, I use tarot cards as just like a small tool. And I do it more because a lot of people want something tactile, something they can touch, something they can exactly see, you know? But honestly, I give the best intuitive advice just by tapping in and straight reading people.
And because
Yeah.
I'm always asking for definitions of things, and I think most of our audience knows what a tarot card is. And you did a nice example of explaining how you utilize it. But can you just give a quick definition of what is a tarot card?
Tarot cards, they've been around forever. It's like a deck of cards, and it has has different, and there's oracle cards as well. But so that every card has a different meaning. And so it can be vast. Like, for instance, the death card, right? You'd look at the death card originally and you would think, oh my gosh, somebody's going to die. And it could possibly mean that, but more likely it's like the death of something and a rebirth. Something else is falling away and for something new to come up. And like the tower card is like that too. I'm not a fan of the tower card. When I get that one, like, no, I reject that one. I put that away. No, I don't want that one.
What
Sorry.
does the I need to know now. Okay, so if we get the Tower card, what does it mean? Why is it? Are you so averse to it? What is the ick
That
about
means
the
your life is about ready to blow up. It will be for a good reason, but your life is about ready to just get blown up and torn apart and rebuilt back to rebuilt. But it's never fun to, it may be good on the other end when you're done with it, but you get that one and you just, it's like someone just handed you a card that said, you have to run a marathon. You'll win, but you have to run the marathon. Oh, man.
Love that. Yeah. I personally find myself, I use tarot cards as a tool as well. For me, I don't use them to do readings on anybody else. I just use them as a way to communicate and get messages or to clarify. That's actually what I find them useful for, is more of like a confirmation that what I intuitively am receiving is accurate, because the cards are always in alignment with that, more than them telling me something that I don't already know, or using them to do readings for other people. I just use them for myself. But yeah, I would say that they are a tool, like any modality, any tools that we use. The power really and the intuition lies within, and we just have these tools that we can use as tools.
Exactly. And it needs to be used for its correct purpose. Like any tool needs to be used for its correct purpose, needs to not be abused, and it's only as good as the person using it.
Yeah.
So.
And you did mention that you have a, I don't remember the exact words you use, I apologize, but there's something with your oldest daughter, and it's very difficult. There's a separation there. And then you've brought up a few different points of judgment that you're receiving from your immediate family and maybe from the world at large. So my question is, how do you handle being judged? How do you center yourself back to knowing that what you're doing is okay? What is your self-talk like?
That's a really good question, because I feel like it's constantly evolving based on where I'm at. Sometimes it can just be like, because sometimes that kind of thing, like judgment, is something that I'm working on a lot right now. And I was just speaking of it the other day. I feel like I hate being judged so much, even though I really go against the grain a lot. So you would think that everybody would think, oh, she doesn't care what anybody thinks of her, right? But I don't care if people think certain things about me. But when people think that I'm a bad mom, that stabs me in the heart because it's so important to me. Or if they think that what I do is just like irrelevant, but I need to not care. And so my self talk is a lot like that, just saying, it's not your business. That's one thing I say to myself all the time. It's not your business what they think. It's not your business how they feel. That's not your business. Your business is internal. Your business is to be able to do what you feel guided to do. And your business, Julia, is to make it so that you can have the best possible connection with source energy, and so that you can have energy flow to you and through you for other people, and just say, fuck everybody else. Excuse my language, but it's not my business what other people think. And I have to say that even with my oldest daughter, and that one's really difficult because I care what she thinks, and I don't appreciate some of the things that she says about me a lot of times. I have to be like, okay, step back. Not your business.
Yeah, that's so hard. And one of the things that Julia and I have actually bonded over, because I have a very strained relationship with one of my sons as well, and currently loving him from a distance. And it's hard as a mom. I know this is something that I was just working through. I've worked through it again and again and again, but there is this shame that comes along when you are not in a loving, healthy relationship with one of your children. And we tell ourselves stories.
Mhm.
So just sending you so much love and honoring you. And it is hard because there is that fear of what other people are thinking and how they're judging you. But we're all human. We all have these thoughts and fears that come up. But the really beautiful thing is that we don't let that dictate how we show up and what we do in the world, right? Where a lot of people would hide and allow that shame to swallow them whole.
Yeah. And it is a lot to do with the shame. You're saying all the words that are like my little words that I've been working on, like shame. Oh, kick it to the curb because it's so toxic. Shame is the lowest vibration that you can have. And you have to be able to know what's right and what's wrong. So in everything there's a good. So that the teeniest tiny bit of that's not right, that's the energy of shame, right? But it can get like moldy is what I feel like spirit is saying to me. It can be like this little teeny tiny thing that just grows and grows like a mold, and it just takes over everything, and before you know it, you are shame, and that's what you are. And that can build all different kinds of resentment and not even liking yourself. And the funny thing is, we were talking about caring what people think about us. I sort of care what people think about me being like, oh, you're not a good mom. But the thing that bothers me the most is that my daughter doesn't think I'm a good mom because I've always went against the grain. I did attachment parenting. I did infant potty training before there was even a word for it. You know what I mean? And I didn't hide that. I did it in public. I always go and I do things my own way. I co-slept. I did all of these different kind of things, right? That were against the grain. I've been a birth activist and I worked as a doula for 15 years. And I brought up anti-circumcision things in rooms where you wouldn't think that I would bring it up. So I'm always like, okay, go against the grain. Don't care what other people think for the most part. But having my child think something bad of me, that's what kills me.
Yeah, I can totally relate to that. That's something that I reflect a lot on as well. In my situation, my son holds a lot of resentment toward me till this day for leaving his father and tells me that destroyed his life. And when you try so hard and put everything in to being the best parent you can possibly be, which let's be real, we make mistakes. None of us are perfect. And I know I was 17 when I had my first son, 19 when I had the second one. So I was emotionally immature. I made tons of mistakes along the way. But one thing I always did was give it my all and give it my best.
Same.
And I know you have and do.
And I know I've made mistakes. Exactly. Like I went from being in a very abusive, physically abusive relationship, left that physically abusive relationship, met the children's father while I was still in that relationship. He was 12 years older than me, a doctor. Here I'm 21, just trying to like get out of a physically abusive relationship. I latched on. And although I had been living on my own since I was 16, and I felt like I was so emotionally mature, but I wasn't. And I was 21 when I got pregnant, 22 when I had my first child. And I never had desires to go out and party and do things like that. I just wanted to be very domestic, and being a mom was everything to me. And I read up on all the parenting magazines and thought I was going to do everything the best, took it very seriously. And I thought that I was very mature, but it's not until I get older that I realized I did things like parentified my daughter. And because that relationship that I was in with their dad ended up being a very emotionally abusive relationship. So then I ended up, like, my oldest daughter took on a lot of responsibilities that she shouldn't have had to take on. She was the other parent. She was my partner, which is just all kinds of wrong. But that was our survival. at that time.
Yeah.
Ooh, there's so much here. I just want to say, you mentioned some things, attachment parenting, co-sleeping, the parentified child. All of these things are so familiar to me. I also did attachment parenting. For those of you listening, attachment parenting, a very simple explanation is that we are in response to the children's needs in the moment. It's not letting them cry it out in a separate room. It's nonviolent. We're not spanking or doing that kind of punitive thing. There's a lot to attachment parenting style, and I appreciate it so much. And I think there's this irony because I hear you caring so much, when you care so much about doing something right, you have such a beautiful heart and you want to do it right and you want to be the best possible parent. And then the hard truth is, we cannot control who comes through us, and the child is not ours. The child is their own being. At least this is my feeling, okay? Correct me if you think I'm wrong. But I feel like what ends up happening then is, oh, wait a minute. I did all the right things. I did all the research. I was going to break all the generational curses. And I get this child whose needs are completely different than what I assumed they would need and what I was practiced in. So now it's this, what am I doing? And this feeling of like complete out of control. I think that is so common, and it doesn't take, what's beautiful about it though, I want to say is, it may seem right now like your daughter is blaming you or angry with you or estranged from you. That is not forever. I promise you. And the beautiful thing, and I've watched this many times, is that if you continue to do the work that you're doing, which is really honoring your own gifts, being completely who you are, and your beautiful humility and taking responsibility for the things that you fucked up. Okay, I got that wrong. And being okay with that. Eventually, what usually happens is they learn from what we do and not what we say. And I can see, I'm not predicting the future here, but just in terms of what I've watched happen before, what I've seen in my own life. I'm 54 years old, by the way, to give you some context.
I'm 50.
Woo-hoo!
I just turned
Yeah. So,
50.
oh my gosh, we're so young and so cool. Okay. So in other words, we've been on the planet long enough to have seen these things happen and play out. It's so heart-wrenching when it's our children. But I've seen so many examples of the child is rejecting the parent and then comes back around and says, Mom, you know what? You're amazing. You're my hero. Like, you never know when that could happen. So I think allowing for the possibility of that and just continuing to support yourself in all of your dreams and what you're doing and creating is the only way to go. And I just want all the best for you, Julia. I just wanted to say that. You're an amazing mom.
Thank you. And I think what I've come to, where I've landed at it, is that, again, it's not my business. It's my business to take care of me. It's my business to heal me. It's my business to be the best possible person I can be, do the best things that I can do. And whether or not she decides to want to be in my life, whether or not, I've actually written a song about it. Sorry.
No, don't be sorry.
I said sorry on Unapologetic Uplift.
You take it back.
We're not. I didn't hear it. I didn't hear it. My ears didn't hear it. No, you get to be everything that you are, and tears can flow here. Anything is acceptable here. We love it.
But I just think it's not my business. If she decides to continue to lock me out of her life, then that is her choice. That is her decision. And the only thing that I can do is leave an open door. The only thing that I can do is try to, how I see it is like me, myself, I am like preparing myself to be a beautiful sanctuary, a beautiful church with wide open doors that she can walk through at any time. And I will openly receive her with humility to say, I hear you. I see you. I want to understand you. I want to not be defensive. I want to understand. I want to heal together. And that's all I can do, is be the sanctuary with open doors and to make sure that the sanctuary is clean and in as best condition as possible. That's all I can do. And everything else I have to detach myself from, because otherwise I'm spending all my energy. And what I've realized, what I did a lot of times, what I did poorly was that I spent so much energy trying to figure out how to make that relationship better that I messed up with the relationships with my other children because I was in such a deep, dark depression about it. And also, Kim, maybe you can relate to this. Sometimes it's difficult to fully connect with your younger children because the fear is there that they will also reject you. And to be able to still allow yourself to be open and unconditionally loving, you can't help it. But there have been times where I have felt like this constriction, this fear of allowing myself to fully love them the way that my heart truly loves them, because it will hurt too bad if they reject me.
Oh, I have not experienced that, but I think our situations are a bit different, right? The reasons that I have distanced myself from my son, he didn't distance himself from me. The dynamics are different.
Yes, it does change the dynamics, definitely.
Totally, but there is a lot of fear that I have had and continue to work through around my other children going down the same path as my son. And there's definitely different types of fear there for sure, but not that specifically. But I can imagine how debilitating, and I know how debilitating it is to go through these things with our children, the people that we love the most.
And I want to say something out loud now. I'm feeling is so important in this conversation. To me, this is the elephant in the room. Ready? Here it comes. Society has now become this place where there is zero tolerance for things that we don't like. So our children are taught, oh, if your parents use this word, cancel them. There is no room anymore for our parents to go, you know what? I messed up. Forgive me. No, you know what? I'm canceling you and I'm going over to this peer group where I have now made them my higher power.
Yes.
The respect that used to exist, that was just part of the family. And I'm talking about in the United States, in this time zone that we're in, this timeline that we're on. Okay. So I'm talking about recent history, us growing up in the 1970s and 80s. There is, and in the case of young Kim, who's with us, 90s, 80s and 90s, it is interesting what I've seen this shift that's happened where it used to be that the respect for the parents was intrinsically part of a family dynamic. You respect your parents. You may disagree with them, but you do it respectfully. Right. There are certain things that you're expected to do. Now, the pendulum has swung really far, and I think that it's too much, in my opinion, to just simply blindly respect. That's not what I'm saying. The whole parroting, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, that's not what I'm talking about. But the opposite of that, which I think is the pendulum swinging, saying, okay, we want to work against that because that doesn't feel real. It feels robotic and it doesn't feel like it's honoring the child's being to just be like, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. This behavior police thing. But the problem is when we start to go against something and the pendulum swings so far the other way, now all of a sudden we've thrown out all respect.
Yes. And
so
I don't
this is
know if respect is the right word. It's like tolerance. You use that word too, and I really like that. It's like the word that keeps coming to me is grace, and I just keep
where's
saying,
the grace? Yeah, where is it?
I give so much fucking grace. I would like some grace, please. One big scoop full of grace, please, because I did this with my full heart, wanting nothing more than to be the best mom possible. I did it with my full heart. And you hit the nail on the head because you can't even tell your child you're proud of them. That's bad these days. You can't tell your child they're proud of them because then that puts and I can even understand. I listened to Dr. Oh God, I can't think of her name right now. Oh my goodness. I read some of her books. Her book is called The Parenting Map. Has a lot of good things in it. She talks about how you shouldn't say you're proud of your child because that's putting the focus on how you feel. Okay, I can understand it, but can my child not understand that I didn't feel like I didn't feel like my parents saw my good enough. And that's the thing. We are raised one way and then we try to swing the pendulum the other way to try to give what we didn't get. And so I felt my parents didn't really respect who what they didn't praise me. They never said like, you are so smart or you are so beautiful. And it was, oh, you're pretty, but you're stupid. Or like, I wanted my children to know how proud I was of them. I heard people constantly nagging about my teenager and this and that and my child and my child. And I would always be the advocate to say, I don't want to be that parent. I would tell people, let your children hear you brag about them. But then that's painted as, oh, I was expecting her to be perfect. I wasn't expecting her to be fucking perfect. I just wanted her to know that I thought she was the coolest damn kid around. That's it. I can love her no matter what she does. I can love my children no matter what they do. I just want them to know that I think that they're awesome. I don't expect them to be a certain way. I just want them to know. And now it's okay if you tell your children how wonderful they are. No, that's wrong. Yeah,
I'm not going to
I don't
stop
know.
doing that. And
I'm
I
not
tell my
either.
kids I'm proud of them because I am. I also encourage them to be themselves and do what makes them happy and to be authentic. And that's what makes me proud. And when they accomplish something that they've set their mind to, I am proud of them. And I'm going to tell them that.
What I've said, I'm thinking of my 22-year-old right now, and I have a great relationship, I would say, with my two middle children, where they have given me sometimes I think more grace than I deserve. And I love them and I feel so grateful for that. But my 22-year-old went through severe depression. That she was one of the main reasons why I finally ended up leaving their dad, my ex-husband, because she just went into a cocoon and she just wouldn't get out of her bed. She crawled inside of herself. If her dad and I fought, she would like crawl underneath the table and play with things as if nothing was happening. She just knew she had this ability to like crawl inside herself. And she crawled inside herself from about age 12. She did it a lot when she was younger, but really shut down from about age 12 to about age 21. Actually, about maybe 20. And she barely would get out of her bed. And now she's got a job that she likes. She's working at the mall at Spencer's and she loves it and she's rocking it. She only worked there for about a month before they asked her to be assistant manager. And she's dressing the way that she wants to dress. Is it my style? No, she's getting piercings here and there. But I think it's so fun to watch her becoming herself. That's not my style, but I feel so happy to see her doing her and feeling good enough to be her own person and do her own thing.
Yeah.
We all need moms like you.
Totally.
You really model what it is to be so perfectly unapologetically real and human and and it's a beautiful thing to witness. Julia, I'm a big fan of your mothering and parenting.
Oh,
I see it. I really see it.
you're going to make me cry. That's the biggest compliment, honestly, because we all have our purpose in this world, right? I knew I always wanted to be a mom. I knew it. And when I had my children, it wasn't like none of them were ever an accident at all. Like I called them to me spiritually, called each one of them to me and named them before they were even conceived. And I feel like every time I got pregnant, I felt like I won the lottery. And my desire was not to like, oh, this is someone who will love me always and never leave me. No, my desire was I want to be able to do it right. I want to be able to, and so I think that's why it hurts so much to have her think that I'm shit. Oh, everything she did was wrong. She's just a horrible person. And that hurts so much because my strongest desire is to be a good mom. So thank you for that compliment.
I see you as that for sure. And again, when our kids say these things that are super hurtful, unfortunately, what I've learned, and some of this work is from Gabor Mate, who's so incredible to listen to around this stuff. But whatever they're saying to you, it's how they're speaking to themselves, and they're
Yeah.
probably speaking to themselves even worse. And it's really
Yeah.
about how they feel about themselves. So we have to hang in there, and
Yeah.
we have to continue to be available to them when they do come to us in whatever form they do.
Oh, yes. And absolutely. And I feel like uh, dropping the, like, I did some pretty shitty things. You know what I'm saying? Like when I went through the divorce, you have to realize from age 15, I was with my first husband. From age 15 to 21, I moved in with him when I was 16 and a half. Married him while I was still in high school. Yeah. And then went from him straight to the kid's dad, who was 12 years older than me and very, not always all bad, but very dominating, more like he was my parent than anything. And then it got very emotionally abusive. So I feel like I was strong enough to break away from that. And did I go through some years of recalibrating and healing and making a lot of really bad mistakes as I was trying to find who I was? I did. I really made a lot of really bad mistakes. And I'm not proud of the mothering that I did during those years, although I was still doing the best that I could do at that moment and still actively trying to heal.
Oh, yeah, that resonates deeply with me. It's so hard when you are a parent and you're leaving a relationship, an abusive relationship. There's so much healing to do. And I know for me, that was when I was at my darkest point, and also feel the same. I am constantly working through guilt and shame that I carry around not being the mother that I wanted to be at that time, because I was just so destroyed and struggling so much in survival mode, in functional freeze state, and just being completely emotionally unavailable, meeting their very basic needs of survival. And that was really all I could give at that point. We're human, right? And it's so easy to focus on the mistakes and allow ourselves to take away from all of the good that we did. I know for a really long time, I was really stuck in the mistakes, and
I should have.
exactly, beating myself up for so long. And that deteriorated my mental health significantly. And it's a good way to look at it is, if the tables were turned, when the tables are turned, because I have dealt with the tables turned, we love them unconditionally and we do show them grace. And it would definitely be nice to receive that. Yeah.
The funny thing is how I'm seeing it is like going through a school lunch line and the cafeteria lady being like, "What do you like? What do you want? Could I have a big scoop full of grace, please?" There you go.
Please.
And there is no perfect mother. There is no perfect parenting. All of it is, we figure it out as we go and we do the very best we can. But the intention that you show so clearly to be the absolute best mother you can possibly be, that's what is something no one can take away from you. Intention is everything. And your intention is. And so you do it imperfectly, as we all do. But your intention is to be there, to be the very best for them and for yourself. And that is such a beautiful thing.
And we do have to. That is one thing. When you were asking me the self-talk or something before, and I was saying it's not my business, that's still going through my head nonstop, because that is what Spirit says to me all the time. That's not your business. That's not your business. My business is to take care of me and to make me the best that I can possibly do. And it's not even my business how my children end up turning out, like how their lives go. That's not my business. Is in the here and now to be the best person I can be, and to try to be the best mom that I can be right now, and to always strive for being better. But it's not you're not a bad parent if your child is what society would say is unfavorable. That doesn't mean that you were a bad parent. It doesn't mean you're a good parent because your child ends up being, Mother Teresa. Who knows how Mother Teresa's mother was? We're all our own person.
That's such a great point, because a lot of people do scale and judge their parenting based on who their children become, which has very little to do with them. Oh, I've seen very abusive parents who were toxic and their children go on to be incredibly successful and
Yes.
lead on the outside what appears to be this beautiful life. And they're patting themselves on the back. Oh, my child became this. And it's
Right. Yeah.
it means nothing.
One thing that I feel like Spirit keeps on leading me to talk about, and this is really funny that we ended up on this topic because we were going to talk about resentment, but this is where it flowed into, and it's beautiful. I suppose it's what needed to be talked about. But Spirit wants me to talk about the umbilical cord connection and how when I was getting Reiki, when I first started getting it, my Reiki teacher said to me in regards to my relationship with my daughters, she said, "You're still connected from the umbilical cord with them. You still have that umbilical cord energy attached to them. And that's why you feel drained all the time. And they don't know how to take care of themselves properly because you never severed that energy. So you're constantly still giving, and you haven't taught them how to be independent and to that they are separate from you."
Thank you. That's beautiful and true. Yeah, I resonate with that. There is a feeling in my body. I like uncontrollably will twitch and I feel it fully in my body when something's trying to come through. And that's how I know that I need to slow down, breathe, and be open to receive. That is something that I feel it a lot in my body. So that is something that I'm actually working on right now, is setting boundaries and not allowing it to take over my life, because there are times where I'm woken up in the middle of the night and I have been trying to go back to sleep. And that's when my body will literally start shaking. I will get bursts of energy and it's, "No, bitch, you're not going back to sleep. Let me give you this message." And if I ignore it, it just gets stronger and stronger. So I really feel like I don't have a choice. There's times where I'd be like, okay, I'd get super frustrated. It would wake up Adam because I'm like, let me go to sleep. No, that's how it started really coming online for me, is that it would be when I was sleeping, it would wake me up. And I would just start getting downloads of information. And I would be like, "Hey, can you just come back later? Because a girl needs to sleep 2 a.m. No. And so I would just surrender to it, get up, go into meditation and get my notebook and so yeah, it is something that I'm working on, setting boundaries and allowing a specific time of day where things can come through. And I try to close the channel as I go throughout my day and put up protection.
I love that. I think the key to having the courage, and I do believe it's courage, to say something that you feel is channeled, that you feel is coming in, that could, because there's that part of us that then the judgment that comes in and says, "This is going to sound ridiculous," or "I'm going to seem like I'm overreacting," or "Why would I jump out of bed right now just because I think I heard a voice?" And we try to talk ourselves out of these things because they don't sound right. We're not like, wait, what is that? What I've noticed is when ignoring these very strong voices and these ideas that come flowing in really quickly, it's a loss of a potential connection, or in your case, maybe even safety and something that you could warn someone about. And so the risk, I think, for everyone listening, if you get an intuition, and maybe this is something you can practice today, everyone that's hearing this, and I'm reminding myself the same. When we get that feeling like this is coming from something else, I'm not making this up, I'm just going to go ahead and say it out loud. I'm going to run the risk of sounding weird, and I'm going to run the risk of being wrong, because it doesn't matter. And I'm going to practice this. I think incredible connection happens when we do that, and the possibilities are really beautiful. And I just welcome everyone to try it. And there's no right or wrong. Yeah, and it can be so random. Like when you were talking about your daughter earlier, I didn't say it because it wasn't in the right moment and I didn't hold back, but I kept seeing the color purple very strongly. And that I don't know why. I don't know that it means anything. These things don't matter. But when we share them, it's an opportunity for deeper connection, because even if it doesn't go anywhere, we can't know that there might be something later.
Thank you so much for being with us today. Anytime.
Yeah, I appreciate you so much, Julia. And it was so lovely to get to know you. Thank you. Thank you.
And for those listening, if you enjoyed today's episode, leave us a 5-star review, share us with a friend, and we will see you next Wednesday. Thanks for joining us on Unapologetic Uplift. If you enjoyed today's episode, please share the love and tell a friend about us, and give us a review.
Please don't miss a thing. Subscribe to this podcast and explore our sponsors, Objects with Purpose, Eco Luxury Candles, and Divine Activation membership.
Objects with Purpose is more than an eco-luxury candle brand. They are time travel devices in the form of a candle. Light the 3 wicks representing past, present, and future with the validation that you are exactly where you need to be. And if you're ready to raise your level of consciousness and step into your unapologetic, unfiltered, and unbothered era, join the Divine Activation membership at cuttingties.coach/queen. With 3 tiers to choose from, you'll find the perfect fit to support your transformation.
Thank you for your listening and love. We'll see you next Wednesday on Unapologetic Uplift.
Welcome to the Divine Activation membership, a movement for women that are ready to raise their consciousness and step into their unapologetic, unfiltered, and unbothered era.
With your heart, live authentically and become the magnet for all of your soul's desire.
Grow, connect with your heart and body, release unhealthy and unhelpful thought patterns, heal old wounds, create new neural pathways, and reprogram your subconscious with high-value beliefs so you can manifest the life you're meant for.
Ready to take a break from what's holding you back? Visit cuttingties.coach and join the Divine Activation membership today. Hey, unapologetic souls. I'm Ianthe Mauro, founder of Objects with Purpose, candles that touch the soul and the body. I've released a limited edition 3-wick candle collection in 3 fragrances inspired by a time in history. The Time Travel Collection, because scent evokes memory and lighting a candle can truly transport you to your highest self. Anytime.
Ianthe's candles are truly special, clean, safe, even for the body as a solid perfume or massage oil, and smell amazing. But what truly fills her heart is empowering others to be seen in their best light.
In 2020, when the 200 stores that sold my candles across the country closed their doors, I knew it was time to give back. I started guiding others to launch their own candle companies and design candles and fragrances for other brands as a way to share light in a dark time.
So why settle for just any conventional candle? Light the 3 wicks in each Objects with Purpose candle. You're supporting handmade in California, small batch, artisanal, eco-luxury, and treating yourself to a memory-evoking evolution. Visit ianthemauro.com to discover your next favorite candle. Let the olfactory experience inspire cherished memories.